We can talk about that. Absolutely.
Baby.
All right, guys, welcome to this Tuesday night. I almost said Thursday, getting ahead of myself. Tuesday night here at Fish North, Georgia. We're so glad you guys could join us tonight. We got a great show for you. I got some kick butt guests tonight and an old timer we're going to bring back in. So we're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, but we're going to talk about some tournament fishing, bass fishing in general, some social media, and a little bit of fatherhood with one of my guests tonight. So going to be a great show. I normally don't do sponsors on Tuesday night, but since I have one of my bosses here tonight, we're going to do that. So we're going to shout out Sonar Pros right there. Pull it up. The absolute best installation and sonar technology, Sonar Pros. If you want it done right, get Trent and the guys to do it. If you take it somewhere else, that's fine, but eventually you're going to take it to them and they're going to be fixing it. So 770-530-4505 by appointment only. Is it still by appointment only, Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, hopefully end of this year we'll have our new retail front open and we will we'll still be appointments, but you'll be able to walk in and do whatever you want to do.
Okay, perfect like that. So, all right, so let me go ahead and tell you guys, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, click that notification bell, and follow Fish North Georgia on all social media platforms. And so I can get a selfish plug in, the Real American Road Trip. Season 2 is getting ready to come out. You guys are going to see me in Michigan, Oktoberfest in Helen, Georgia. A lot of fun down on the Gulf again. That's getting ready to come out on Waypoint TV. And we've started a Real American Road Trip YouTube channel. So we're going to do a lot of behind the scenes content and some podcasts that we've got. They're going to land on that. So if you want to, go over there and like and subscribe after the show and help us build that up. A lot of great things coming. So again, we appreciate all you guys. And so let me go ahead and introduce everybody. To my right, of course, I said the boss man, Trent Palmer with the National Professional Fishing League. And of course, Sonar Pros is in the house right there in all his glory right there. Yeah, looking good right there. And to my left, a lot of you guys know it from the question of the week on the Thursday nights, the guy that always Googles the answer, but Mr. Clint Bartlett with Yamaha.
Yes,
and
sir.
of course, a lot of you guys know him from cast fishing and all that. So a couple of great guys. And then on the end, we have a special guest tonight. Mr. Paul Coenen is back in the house. He hasn't been here.
Good to be back.
Hasn't been here in a long time. Fatherhood's got him busy right there. So John G. Wilson.
The new normal.
That's right. Yeah, I finally caught a live podcast at the right time. Middle Georgia here. Well, buddy, let me tell you something. Absolutely. We appreciate you joining us. And, hey, it's always great to get some of you flatlanders on here. That's what we call anybody south of Roswell is a flatlander to us right there. But we appreciate you. And so, guys, if you got any questions or comments, we really don't kind of have a set topic tonight. So we're going to go a little more gray in that beard than before there, Paul. That's kids.
A little more.
Right there. And Trent's getting married soon.
Yeah, November 2nd.
November 2nd.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations, man.
It is absolutely.
It'll be here in a snap.
Yeah.
Be here in a snap. And hell, we'll figure out what the hell you're involved in. We'll do all that. So, so what we're going to talk about a little bit, of course, we'll talk about what the fish are biting here locally. If you got any sonar questions or anything like that, of course, Trent's here. You can throw them things out, and we will definitely take care of those. And Clint, also social media. That's a big thing these days. You got to have the social media to run any business nowadays. And so in the fishing world, you get you a koozie that fit. Get your koozie on right there.
What'd you go with?
Oh, he's got one of his. He brought some musky.
NCF. Oh, you're talking about beer?
No, the koozie.
Oh, the
man. That's
koozie.
an important decision to make.
NCF, Nantula Creek Farms. A little shout out for our guys up
right.
there. Also, too, I want to shout out Waters Heating and Air. Okay. Walked into the shop this morning and it was hot. It was 83 degrees. I called my buddy up, Mason. I said, hey, are you in the area? Came right out, got us fixed up. I don't even have his phone number right there, but of course you can Google it. But Waters Heating and Air, if you are in the Ball Ground, Jasper, Cumming, Forsyth County area like that, definitely give Mason a call. He is an absolute stand-up guy. And so, Mason, I appreciate what you did for us because this fat boy does not like to sweat right there. And I also want to give Ken Pruitt, one of our special guys here, a shout-out because of my shirt. Let me go ahead and right there tonight. Real Men Drink Kefir. From those of you that I guess tuned in about 2 months ago, something like that. You heard my kefir story.
I always thought you smoked kefir.
That's reefer, but no, that's reefer. So, good evening, Nick B, Sal Pinto, Tony, the how-to hero, Luke Turner. They were choking purple trickworm on Sunday. You guys been out on the water? Any of you guys at all here lately?
I was just at Saginaw Bay this weekend, pre-scouting for our
you
next
suck.
tournament.
That's
You
awesome.
suck. That's a place
Caught
to
some
be.
some of those brown fish.
Some of them smallmouth up there.
Mhm.
That is a bucket list trip for me. I want to go
Smallmouth?
up there.
Yeah,
Well, just any one of those lakes.
It'll
up there.
spoil it. Now, I mean, even though Saginaw Bay is a very special place to me because it's where I won last year.
Yeah.
I would not say it's not. I mean, it's a great smallmouth fishery, but
Right.
it's not to the volume of like St. Clair. You can go catch 104 pounders in a day. Like
That's
that place
crazy.
is incredible. Yeah.
That's stupid.
So, but yeah, they're addicting as long as you can handle the weather. Because it gets a little rough on those legs.
Well, I was going to bring it. I'd probably get seasick. Need to take the Dramamine out there and.
Yeah, I don't really get seasick, but I hadn't been on Great Lakes water since last year.
Right.
And Friday when I was out there, I was doing that
Oh,
number,
yeah.
and I was like, feels like my lunch is wanting to come up right now.
I totally get it. Tony, got your hat. It's now designated as my nice hat. Well, there you go. Just you got some class, dude. So appreciate it. We got our first question tonight already, Trent. Can Trent install forward-facing sonar on an Ulterra?
You can. I'll be transparent and say it's probably my least favorite trolling motor to recommend putting it on there, just because the way that trolling motor deploys, it's not like your scissor style, like what you would see on a bass boat. The Ulterra is the one where it either has an auto deploy or you hit a lever and the shaft slides within a cylinder to drop down. So it makes running cables difficult. I will say a trick, if you're going to do it yourself or have us do it, we recommend what's called a cable guard. It's an add-on piece that helps run that cable a little easier on the trolling motor. So ultimately it can be done. I will say for my guys that have Ulterras and Tarovas, I normally try to find out what type of fishing you're wanting to do, because there are alternatives with turret mounts or a standalone pole mount that's sometimes more beneficial depending on the type of fishing you're doing. But to answer his question, that's probably a long way to do it. Yes, we can mount it to an Ulterra. It does require an aftermarket bracket called a cable guard, though, to do it.
There you go. There's your answer right there from the expert himself. So the Kerry Bell, what's up to you? Absolutely. 400 Inc. Guys, if you want to listen, he made our banner for us down at ICAST. Kick-ass job. I mean, we looked so good. Did you see that banner in the pictures?
You had a great booth this year.
Yeah.
It was
Awesome
great.
booth.
No, it was great.
We just got to teach Kerry how to catch fish.
I'm not gonna
Yeah.
knock that, but I realize that's something that needs to happen.
We need to help
He
him out
gets
there.
there fast.
Yeah, he
gets
does.
there in that
Yeah,
boat.
he does.
He's got a hell of a boat. But listen, Kerry, listen, that's from Trent. It ain't from me. I love you. I want you a sponsor on the show. So, but they made us an absolutely amazing banner.
Yeah, they did great
And
work.
all the people down there were talking about how good our backdrop looked, and that's all.
He
from
just did all
400.
the we just got all new perf on the front of my building. That looks, I'll show you pictures later.
Really?
He just went out and knocked that out, and it looks awesome.
He's okay for Dawson.
Yeah,
Creek.
when it comes down to graphics and stuff like that, he's the man.
He's got it
Yeah.
down. Now, you two guys, since we're just going to go straight down the way the comments go, John G. Wilson's got a question, and I know you fish a lot of places, and Paul, you're a kayak guy, so either one of you guys can answer this. Me and two kayak bass fishing buddies are planning a float down the Oconee River tomorrow, as long as this level comes down. What's a good bait for the river this time of year?
Go ahead.
Paul, I mean,
Go ahead.
You're more of a kayak guy. I started in a kayak. But
I
Well,
mean,
go ahead. Either one of you answer that question.
there are 3 or 4 that you can't miss with in the summertime, especially spinnerbait, chatterbait, especially if that water's still got some color in it. Those are going to be really effective. You're going to be able to create the kind of the profile you need to get those fish out of the cover. If you still got some color in that water, you want to get tight to your cover, to your wood and whatnot. They eat the jig.
They always eat
They eat the jig.
Yeah.
Fluke, hard to miss with. If you got some clear water, Ned rig, hard to miss with. And of course, everybody, summertime, top water time.
Even on a river?
Oh yeah,
for sure.
especially
What
on
do you
the
mean
river.
for sure?
Small plopper.
For sure. Like
Small plopper.
yeah.
Do you throw that damn bait?
Mhm.
I
Buzz-
hate a plopper,
That's a
dude. I
snake.
can't stand a
Plopper,
plopper.
buzzbait,
Yeah.
horny toad, crawler.
Especially the small, I don't remember the name of it, but they have that one smaller plopper that has the bigger size tail on it. I don't remember. It's a small
the
one, but it
90?
has the bigger
I
tail
think the
on
75,
Or
the
75.
75
Yeah,
has like
75.
that 110
That thing's
tail.
money.
Yeah.
Do you use that in any of your tournaments? Be honest.
it. That's all I use, and I watch it on forward sonar.
You're a lying sacker. You lie like a dog. You lie like
I
a
do.
dog.
It depends on the tournament, ultimately, where I'm fishing. But yeah, there's times I'll throw a plopper. I did when we were at Amistad. I caught
Did you really?
Yeah, day one I caught a 6.5 on it at Amistad.
I have never caught a fish. No,
That's like
I
a
take
toilet
that back.
flushing
I
with that
caught one
size.
on a Chapo, but I got pissed off on Lanier because I was just blah, 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 blah. And finally, I just yanked the hell out of it. And he goes, bah! About that time, like, boom, it blew up. So I said, okay, maybe I'm on to something. So for the next 6 hours, I just ripped that thing.
That's just Lanier.
I
That's
didn't get
Lanier
another
for
bite,
you.
dude.
Yeah.
I was like, this is insane.
They're
So
part peacock bass and Lanier.
Yeah, that's
sometimes.
Lanier
So
for
when
you.
you
Is
get
that
on
that?
there.
Listen, these guys are into a little bit of everything. So of course we got Trent with Sonar Pros, and of course he fishes professionally. Clint is now with Yamaha.
Yes, sir.
And so we were talking a little bit before that. I wasn't aware of that till you come in with the Yamaha hat.
Yeah.
But congratulations, number
Thank
one
you.
on that. That's a big thing. Just tell everybody kind of what you do with Yamaha.
Yeah. So basically, I'm working on their social media development and putting out content. So I'm kind of the field reporter. So I'm running out, going to events, shooting photos and videos, sending them back, and cutting them up to put together long form stories and short form stories. Just keeping social media rolling, working with the team. So that's been cool, working with anglers, going to not just freshwater events, but saltwater events as well. So all the freshwater side has been awesome because it's a bunch of familiar faces, working with the pros, Bassmaster Elite Series, things like that, that I've been doing for the past 6 years, running my own business on the side. And now I kind of get to hone everything in instead of working for 5-6 different contracts at a time. I'm able to kind of hone in and do everything for Yamaha. And so that's been really nice to kind of hone in. And then just the family aspect of Yamaha has been pretty cool. So
That's awesome.
been awesome.
I'm happy for you.
Yep.
And then what did you say about Yamaha there, Trent?
That's the best motor you can run.
Best motor you can
I
run.
ran other motors, and this is my first Phoenix with a Yamaha this year, and I'm not just saying it because I'm sponsored by them. Like, it is the best performing boat I've had so far.
Is it really? I mean, you're not full of shit.
I'm not. I have friends that, funny enough, I'll tell you this story. And forever I was the other motor guy my entire life.
The other motor guy.
Since
the other motor guy.
since I was a kid.
Mhm.
So in college, I had a very good friend of mine.
Evan
named-
Rude, the other motor?
No, the other one.
How many are there left?
Yeah.
We can narrow
Yeah,
it
there's
down.
Not
Yeah.
many, baby.
Not many. I have a good friend of mine named, his last name's, we just call him Felker. But he had a Yamaha in college on a Skeeter that blew up. And I was always like, dang, son,
Yeah.
should have had a
The other.
Uri. And
Uri.
so,
Should have gone boldly.
yeah. And I forever gave him crap about that.
Yeah.
And just because I was, unfamiliar with the Yamaha platform, and this year got an awesome partnership, and I'm running one and I love it. When I made the announcement I was switching, he sent me a text. He said, I want a handwritten note apologizing to me for the past 15 years of giving me crap.
He's got receipts.
So I wrote him a note. I'm pretty sure he has it framed in his office now.
Did you really
Yeah.
write him a note? That's funny as crap. John G wants to know top water on a river, buzz, frog, white, maybe.
Whatever you like. I've thrown that white horny toad on the river a few times. It works good. White buzzbait. To me, there's two colors.
White
There's
and black.
White and black.
White and black, baby. That's
White and
it.
black.
And
You
Andy
can-
Middleton used to say there's two colors, black and black. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
I saw he throws like that. So.
There's two colors in the river, white and black. The current does so much of the work for you to orient him. The biggest thing is just to put it in his kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make a
he's-
ton of casts all day.
Yeah,
I feel
just
like.
put it in his kitchen. He's gonna have to eat.
I don't fish rivers much. I got a kayak. I still got to go pick up. So eventually I'm gonna get onto.
I used to go fish up the hooch a bit. I used to have a river boat, and then they dredged everywhere I fished. So
Screwed it up right there.
Yeah.
What about you?
I grew up. So when I went to college, I went to Western Carolina, and there's a ton of rivers around there, and that's kind of where I really started fishing. So I got a kayak my freshman year, and so I'd put in on the Tuckasegee River, Nantahala River, and stuff, and just float around and just figure it out. I still had really no idea what I was doing. Just like catching them on a small little walking bait, things like that. Just trying to get a reaction out of them. Rooster tail, you can't go wrong with the old rooster
Hell no,
tail.
you
Yeah,
can't.
man.
No.
You know? So-
Rooster tail's like the Zebco 33.
Yeah.
There's probably been
That's-
more fish caught on the
Yeah.
Zebco 33 and a rooster tail than
Yep.
anything.
easily.
For
The,
sure.
the river game, so much of it is just keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Keeping it
So
simple.
much of it is just keeping it simple. Like you can complicate it. It's like any fishing. You can complicate it to no end. And I'll go out there. I'll take 8 rods and throw 8 baits and
Mhm.
change everything over and whatnot. But
Arguably, river fishing's more
Like-
learning the current, knowing how
Yeah.
to read the current.
Yeah.
It's more important than
where is
anything.
he going to be?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because the
Well,
food's
I don't know.
the food's coming. The river is like the conveyor belt. It brings the food. And if he wants to eat it, he's not going to let it get past him.
That's true because it's competition. He's got to
Yeah.
take it.
He's
right
got
there.
competition.
He's got to take it. All right.
It just simplifies the game to me a lot.
What about Luke Turner's comment right here? So the new drop shot jig for the weight and a type of minnow that relates to where you're fishing. Have y'all saw, used, or heard of this? So I guess if you're fishing in the lake, like what's
jig,
the
jig for your weight, minnow up top.
I get what's the predominant like you were in Saginaw?
Yeah.
What's the predominant bait fish in Saginaw?
Is it gobies up there?
You have
Gobies,
gobies, and then
Alewives,
I'm
right?
pretty sure it's alewives, the
Alewives
smaller
are
ones.
smelt.
There's a bigger bait fish that I think might be smelt, but I'm not sure what it is.
Alewives get properly big.
Yeah, they get about like the size of a small herring.
Alewives will get big.
that. Yeah.
So I know a lot of guys up north will take a Ned head or something and use that for their drop shot weight. I've seen that. We've done it. Josh, the boss around here, he is even in some of these electric only lakes just put like I watched him one day put a Texas rig for his drop shot weight, and I'll be damned if he didn't catch fish on it.
Yeah.
So I think you're presenting two baits at once. Same thing in the trout world when you're doing a hopper and a dropper. You give them a couple of different opportunities. I don't know exactly which one you're talking about as far as the jig that's specifically made for that loop, but I mean, yeah, if they're eating it, it's going to work for sure. So baby bull rat is a Buka brand weight bait. Buka brands are absolutely legit. Ian Freeman, Clint, the small walking bait in the river was my bite. Don't lie. So that's got to be one of your buddies. So
100%. Ian showed me that behind the old Riverwalk apartments. We used to go wade out. He lived in these apartments, and we wade out there, and he would throw this little walking bait, and he definitely showed me that bite. And we carried it on because, like, at that time, all we fished was the river. Like, we didn't have boats. All we had was kayaks. And we started to go out in our kayaks on the lakes, and then we started applying that same walking bait and started catching like big smallmouth on it, and it was a lot of fun. So like that was like one of my first earliest memories in college is taking that little walking bait from the river and applying it to the lake and catching them up like herring spawn stuff. It was a lot of fun up in the mountains.
Okay. So Tony's got a question, and this definitely relates to Clint, but Paul does his social media, and you're starting to do a little more of a push with your social media. So this is a good question.
He's smiling because he's part of that.
Is he part of that?
Yeah, a little
bit.
Listen,
I noticed he upped his game, son, right there. So I told him the other day, I was like, you didn't guys share it. You just put it out on yours, and I'll share it every single time because I want to do that for you. Clint, what is your recommendation for a content creator as far as self-filming good and clickable fishing videos from a bass boat? It all looks very mundane when I do it, equipment, angles, and everything.
Okay.
So what would you tell him, give him some feedback, or, if somebody was trying to do that, what should they do and what should they not do?
Okay. So biggest thing is it's not about the equipment you have, it's about the story you tell, right? So
100%.
That's a quote.
1,000%.
That's 100% right.
That's a t-shirt.
You know what though? But you've got to connect with the guy watching.
100%.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is you have to have a conversation with the camera. You have to be willing to talk to the camera. It takes practice. Like I was posted up in my dorm room talking to the camera looking like an absolute idiot, but I started figuring it out when I was in college and like really just breaking it down by just repetition. Like if you put in the reps, you learn, you make, and you repeat. Like that's the biggest thing with fishing videos. Like the only reason I started making fishing videos is because I started filming trout my little river fishing trips. And then I was like, well, I don't have any storage anywhere to put this. So I just started uploading videos to YouTube. And I was like, well, I might as well edit these down and like make them like a fun video. And then like I started doing that and realized like that storytelling development of, okay, how do I make these better? Like what's working, what's not, things like that. So once you start to get dialed in on like the comfortability, you're just telling the story. Like if I call Trent right now and I tell him about my day on the water, you tell that to the camera. So like think about your phone calls with your buddies. That's a great place to start. Now, as far as equipment goes, any type of action camera will work. GoPros are fine, but there are much better out there.
They overheat.
I just switched that DJI.
Yeah, the DJI is the way to go.
I have no sponsor obligation, but I threw my GoPro in the lake. I was so frustrated with it.
The damn thing's
and he told me it was a bad one.
Yeah. So I figured out the DJI trick when they first came out, and I like kind of kept it hush hush because like a lot of the anglers were still, oh, GoPros are overheating, they're bugging up all this stuff, and I was just like staying quiet about my little DJI action camera. And then now a lot of guys have caught on. So like
the heat.
Yeah, it really is overheating.
That would absolutely irritate the daylights out. We'd go out there and me and Ryan would try to make a fishing video or just, even go live or whatever, and overheating.
Yep.
And it would only be like an 85-degree day. It wouldn't even be like abnormally hot, and they would overheat.
So pro tip for overheating GoPros too. If you open, so I like to run a mount on the console or I'll run like a chest mount, something like that. I've got like a little necklace mount that's actually way better than the chest mount. It doesn't like hurt your neck or anything, and it's like you're not wearing a bra strap basically. So
for those of us that need the bra,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
with
the
Lift
dash
to
mount, what I like to do is I run that DJI on the dash, and I'll pop open that side door, especially like if it's not raining or anything, like normal conditions. Pop open that side door and pull that battery out, and then just run a external portable battery. You can get them on Amazon, $30-$40. You want to look at the milliamp hours, so 20,000 plus is kind of what you're after. That'll run you about $40, but it'll last all day. So plug that little portable battery straight into the camera. The camera will turn on without the battery in it. And that way, without that battery in there, it's just like allows for more air to get in, airflow, and it's not heating that little tiny battery. So that prevents overheating. You can run it. A lot of times I'll wear shorts and then just get a longer USB-C cord, put the battery pack in my pocket, and then run the cable up through my shirt into the chest mount and run it that way. If you're running out of a kayak or things like that, just keep in mind if that door is open and you get wet or flip your kayak, you're going to lose a camera. So,
you know what, it's crazy that I got nerds on my right, nerds to my left. You guys are like really, I mean, y'all are smart. And here I am going like, well, hell, what the hell's a milliamp?
It's just trial and error, maybe.
It's trial and error. But you talked about the story. So like Trent, when you post your stuff, you know, you're showing, hey, this is a setup. This is what we do. And so you're telling that kind of story informationally to let people know about your business. And then guys that are making videos, they're more for the entertainment. But it's still, regardless of whichever way you're doing it, you got to make that connection.
100%.
You know, and like
Yep.
with your stuff, and even with what Paul does, you know, when he does stuff, you know, yours might be, I would say, more for entertainment. But you got to, even if you're selling something or whatever, if somebody's watching that video, you really only have a few seconds before they swipe.
Yeah.
Or go to something else. So
Yep.
you really got to make that connection. You got to make it. So, you know, it's like that. So, yeah. Trent, Jeff Hodges? We know Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff fished the MPFL with us.
Yeah.
He's taking a break this year. I think he's coming back next year.
Well, how you doing, Jeff? I'm glad you joined us.
He's got some long ears.
So, Mason, okay, again, guys, I told you about water seat. Now, you're welcome. Can't have my fat buddy sweating. Don't let Trent badmouth that blue nitro he's working on. That's his.
Yeah, we got it at the shop.
I'm telling you, like, everybody comes in here. I'm like, they want to know where to take it. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's concerning though, because everyone who calls or however they get a hold of me, normally calls, they say, hey, I want to let you know Danny sent me, but please do not hold that against me. Everyone is very concerned that I'm going to upcharge them or something because you sent them down.
Listen, Mason and I go back a long way.
He was one of them that said that.
That's even worse.
I don't doubt Mason said that, but let me tell you a story about Mason. We did heating in there. First day I ever met him. We're in a box truck, and he'll remember this. We're going down Windward Parkway. I don't know this guy from nothing. All of a sudden he goes, stop. And I'm like, he jumps out. Next thing I know, he's over there in the bushes on the side of the road with a hammer, and he's just beating the hell out of something. And I'm like, the hell? Gets back in the truck. There was a turtle across the road. And he beat the hell out of that turtle because he wanted to take it home and eat it. Listen.
That was not the direction I thought that was going.
So we get. So I'm like, all right, this guy's.
I was picturing like coyote with a turtle in its mouth.
No, like he wanted this turtle. So we get back to the shop, and the next day I go into the boss, and he goes, "What do you think about the new guy?" And I'm like, dude, I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I say he's beating the hell out of turtles. I mean, but he's a great guy. Absolutely. Water's heating in there, guys, out of ball ground. You're not going to get it any better. And I will tell you this.
Does he still eat turtles?
Mason?
Yeah.
Look at him. Mason needs a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Mason a little bit of everything. He's a great guy. And I will say this. We're not sponsored by him, but I know what the cost is on what a lot of heating and air companies charge for certain things. And I can tell you, Mason is not one of those that will gouge you. So, Mason, I appreciate it. I love you, buddy. You know that. But, yeah, he did. He beat the hell out of that turtle. And I was like, this guy's a freak.
Yeah, lunatic.
He is a lunatic.
What did you say to him the next day? Like, how'd the next day go?
That was dinner last night.
Well, here's the bad thing is we ended up going out. We both left the company. We subcontracted together for a while. He's stuck in the business and all that. He's got a great business and super guy, but we hunted a little bit and all that. Just a great guy. But, yeah, he's a little off. He's from ball ground. He's a little off, like that. So
a little too many turtles in his diet.
Dude, he beat the hell out of that turtle. I'll never forget that. And we would put him in the back of the van and pull up to a quick trip. and people would come out, and he can bark like a dog, like nobody else. He would start beating the side of the van and barking like hell, and people, it would just scare the crap out of people.
I think he should have came on the show.
Oh no, he and I got some stories right there. So
That's hilarious.
how about that comment right there, Trent?
That's a good one.
All right, let's do this. Andy Anderson.
Yeah.
Let's put say, Trent, any idea of when Bassmaster or MLF will announce any new restrictions on electronics for the 2025 season?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely despise this topic because it's
That's what I asked.
It's what the fishing industry's gravitated for the past year. So as far as MLF, I really don't know because I don't have a ton of ties over there as far as buddies. I do know the Elite Series have a meeting tomorrow to go over what's being proposed. I know what the proposal is. I'm not going to do it or say what it is because it's not in stone yet, but I know what is being proposed in the meeting. I don't think you're going to see a flat out ban from either one of those organizations. You're probably going to see a limitation of how many forward transducers can exist on the boat, how many overall screen inches can be on the boat. And I know the one thing I know for a fact is they are trying to propose, or not trying to, but I think you'll probably see a ban on live imaging transducers on the back of the boat.
Yeah,
that won't be allowed.
Right. Does the size of the screen actually matter?
I know, like at one point in time, it was like 55 inches overall screen size, or it was 50 inches, then 65. So it doesn't matter because let's just say hypothetically it gets limited to 36 inches. I'll just use that for a number, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be 3 12-inch. That'd be 3 12s, right? Well, I can have 3 12s in my boat, but I can rig it to where I can move those graphs around. So if I'm in a tournament where I'm utilizing my graphs of the console for side scan mapping and all that, I'll just pluck 2 graphs from the front, put them there, good to go. So to me, that is kind of a mundane approach, or it's kind of a useless approach in the whole thing, honestly.
Right.
And it brings
would it interest you to like lock anglers into their setup for a day or for an event at that
in that position? Yeah. I think, but here's the whatever decision gets made. Here's the hard thing. Ultimately, is how do you explain that to the viewer? Like guys like us that know boats, know tournament fishing, the guy clicking on TV on Sunday to watch this thing. How are you going to explain to him? Well, this angler took the approach of 3 12-inch screens in the front and no graphs at the console, and like just from a viewability perspective, I just don't see how that wouldn't make over too much sense to me. Just because you have to explain it to your consumer base. I'm of the standpoint in the whole conversation for the most part. If you want to ban it or have a limitation on it, define the technology as it exists now and don't let it get past that, is what I think should happen ultimately. Because the argument I hear from everyone is, well, look at what Livescope can do now. What's it going to do 10 years from now? Yeah. And I think the easy thing is, well, let's stop it from getting to that point by building out limitation of how that technology exists now and not let it exceed past that.
Yeah. I know it's a touchy subject. And this is my opinion. This is not any of the guys here. I don't care either way. But for the guys that say it's boring to watch, if we're being honest, it's always been a little like you're always staring at the guy's backside, no matter what.
Fishing's boring to watch.
Fishing,
unless you're a diehard follower, there's a reason tournament bass fishing is not what golf is. Because it is not, there's no viewership access to it. It's not enjoyable for the greater public to watch it.
I agree.
A diehard
on TNN back in 1994.
A diehard tournament guy likes to watch it. And honestly, I almost wish live went away, like Bass Live, MLF Live, whatever, and it went back to edited shows. I used to love the edited 100%. Shows because it built all the fake. It brought out the fake. They built this fake drama in the show that made it, even though like in reality the guy won the tournament by 10 a.m., they made it look like, holy crap, it's 2:45 and he catches his last fish for a coal. That's the stuff I used to love. And I almost think because we have, I think we take for granted this.
Pulled back the curtain too far.
Yes. And now we have to nitpick at, well, I don't want to watch this angler for 8 hours because he's just staring at a screen. Well, whether he's staring at a screen or looking at the bank, it's his, to your point, you're looking at his back.
You're looking at his ass the whole day. If we're being honest, I don't, like I said, I have never been a huge fan of watching tournament fishing. I do watch it. I watch it more with NPFL because I know you guys.
Yep.
And I'll watch the big elite events, and I like that. But even just take when Patrick Walters was on Murray.
Yep.
And you saw all the fish schooling in front of him, and all that was exciting. But you're still looking at Patrick's butt. I probably could draw it with my eyes closed now.
Yeah.
Casting it.
He's got a large rear end.
It'd be a great.
Patrick
picture.
Walters, if you're fishing, Trent did say you have a big ass, and that was he kind of does.
Yeah, he has a large rear end.
It's kind of like the front end of a Volkswagen Bug.
Yep.
Which on a woman looks good.
Yeah.
But
Patrick, a little different story.
Trent says he's got a big butt. I believe him. But to your point. But you room together, you guys. Yeah. But to your point is, okay. Let's say a league bans it. What are you going to do as a league to all of a sudden make it more enjoyable for me as a consumer to watch? And I don't know that there's an answer to that.
Because that brings out my other biggest argument in the whole forward sonar needs to be banned. All this stuff. The reason forward sonar is so successful now is because, in my opinion, I don't have any data to back this up. But in my opinion, our lakes have gotten so overfished and overpressured because of how much our sport has grown in the past 5 years.
Yes.
You look at high school fishing. When I was in high school a long time ago, there was no high school fishing. Correct. Now there's a tournament a month on Lanier that's 250 boats.
Big time.
When I started college fishing, I did college fishing from 2010 to 2015. At blast off in the morning, everyone could barely get their engines cranked, and it was like a smoke screen from all the two-strokes trying to burn.
Two-stroke.
Now it's fully loaded, $100,000 rigs, wrapped boats, all this stuff. So, in my opinion, the reason you're seeing stuff like a jig head minnow, finesse techniques being so successful in tournament fishing is because we keep going to the same places that are overfished, overpressured, and those fish that used to live on the bank are now like, wow, we've got our brains beat in. Yeah. I'm going to go out here. And I think the best example of it is our last event was on Pickwick that I finished seventh in.
Yep, you had a good tournament.
I love Pickwick. I have fished it a ton in college. I fished it a lot after college. I used to go up there for a week every summer with my buddy Ronnie Moore with Bassmaster, and we would go ledge fish for a week. It was great. Or for a couple of days. That lake's probably the best example of this because back in the day, you could go throw a big flutter spoon, a 10XD, a 6XD, 8XD, a big 1 ounce jig, a big worm. You could do all that fun ledge stuff. Those fish aren't there anymore. They're not on the ledges anymore. They won't eat that big stuff because they've had their brains beat in by it for the past 5 to 6 years. How I did well in that tournament was fishing stumps and fishing brush because that is unpressured structure. Those fish are hiding. They're literally getting away from the areas where they know they're getting their brains beat in. They're pushing out and getting on solid structure to hide from the fishing pressure.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And that is not in a correlation to forward sonar. I think it's just because we have beat these lakes to death.
What do you think there, Mr. Clint?
So
and Paul chime in as well,
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, not only on the electronic side of forward-facing sonar, but on the other side of electronics, you have social media. So I'll play devil's advocate with what I do. Is the access to information is insane. I mean, we all have a computer in our pocket that is not only a phone, but it's 100%. A computer. You have access to information at your fingertips.
Access to everything you could ever want to know about a body of water.
Exactly. And that's where it goes into all these guys talking about the young guys are doing so good. Well, the reason the young guys are doing so good is because they're putting in the time.
Yes.
So
they learned from all these guys that are now complaining about them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like I think a lot of the old heads.
Sorry to cut you off.
You're good. No, I just did it to you. I think a lot of the old heads aren't recognizing how short the learning curve is getting.
Yes.
As we define more and more like how to do things. There's a way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Like where it used to be guys kind of everybody learned their own way. You said it earlier, kind of we're defining how do you fish a ledge? How do you break down a lake? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you find fish? And we're refining the tools that we use to do that. And the natural result of that progression is the learning curve gets shorter.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not because like these young guys aren't working hard or they're not talented anglers. It's just flat out like
they can learn it quicker.
They can learn it quicker because it's simpler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they say like hard work. All these old guys will say, or not just old guys, but just guys that
You
are
could say
upset,
old guys because a lot of them are older.
but they're just like hard work beats talent every time. And it's like, yeah. And now all these young guys are putting in the hard work and they're beating your talent.
Yep.
You know, like it's.
You know, Gussie's surprised. You know, I thought when we had Gussie on
Yep.
and we were talking, and he's like, I love it. I mean, he loves the forward facing stuff, but he did say something about you got to put in the work and learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Driscoll on Lanier, he likes fishing with younger guys because he learns from them how to do it. I just think if you're going to eliminate one piece of technology, you might as well put us all back, all you guys that fish tournaments. Y'all all should have a 6 to 6'6" pistol grip fishing rod. It ought to be damn fiberglass. You ought to all throw monofilament. You can't throw any damn bait that was manufactured after 1988. I mean, if we're really going to go down, where do you stop? Where do you say, hey, this is the limit?
Yeah.
I mean, because somebody could take it back.
I think to Trent's point earlier, I think that's the interesting thing. And we had talked about it pre-show a little bit, like kind of the marketing machine that is pro bass fishing.
Yep.
Like the technology is going to continue to get better. And so and the desire for like companies to sell that technology is going to continue to exist. It's not going away. And I'm not sure that I see that as a tenable solution to define technology and try to freeze it.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, very early on when we had this conversation before I became a father,
back when we was in the basement,
back when we was in the basement, like, I think you have to limit the number of transducers, limit the number of screens, because guys, you have to, for the industry to continue to exist as we've known it, like, guys need to continue to have access.
Yeah.
To that top of the line bleeding edge technology. Otherwise, you don't see any progression anymore. There's no need for it.
Exactly.
So I got really kind of ticked at a Randy Blockett video, which is not hard to do.
Genius. He's a genius.
He is a genius. You guys, listen, let me tell you something.
He's made an audience for himself.
I can tell you this. This is how YouTube works. You get paid X amount of dollars per 1,000 views. Okay. And he has figured out if he puts a train wreck out there, just like a car wreck going down 400, everybody's going to stop and look, and he's making money off you fools, and you don't even realize it. So that's just the way it works. But he said something. He made a comment about ICAST. Now, you didn't go this year.
No.
I'm
not an ICAST fan, really.
Okay, well, first of all, I think there's some things about ICAST that need to change.
Yes.
Like the voting on the baits of the year.
Yes.
And all that needs to change.
Yes.
That is nothing more than
I think it needs to also change back to a true industry event.
Yeah.
Because anyone can get in now.
Yeah, you can. I honestly could get tickets for anybody in the world that wants to go as a retailer if I want to do that. But we went down there as an exhibitor. But Randy made the comment that, number one, he didn't go. He wasn't at the show, but he heard that everything was all forward-facing sonar, all this. And I'm like, yes, there was a lot of stuff in it, but there was still your standard fishing stuff. But people just kind of, this forward-facing stuff is just really overtaking everything. Yep. And there was a lot of great products down there that were not forward-facing sonar. They were not. Well, it's like it doesn't exist anymore. And I'm like, bullshit, it's there.
I think the thing, though, is like forward-facing sonar right now is still 5-6 years in, 8 years in. I think you said 2016, Trent?
Yeah, when the first Panoptics came out.
We're 8 years in.
Announced. We got big. Yes, when it blew up, kind of.
Like, for the common angler, that's still like the new frontier. Like that's still one of the spaces in the market that hasn't been saturated yet. Of course, companies are going to continue to move into that market. Yep. Like it's natural.
On that question, companies like Humminbird, Garmin, Lowrance, and of course installers like yourself and all that. There's a lot of money involved.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely
to just say we're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah, and I think if an organization makes that decision, in my opinion, they're shooting themselves in their foot. Number one, they're alienating. They're doing a couple things. One, if they make that decision to flat out ban it, they're alienating any electronic sponsorship going forward.
100%.
The second thing is your next round of customers, which are high school and college anglers, and maybe the guy who's 1 to 2 years into his career out of college, that are young anglers that are invested in technology. You're alienating them and giving them the opportunity to say, well, I don't want to go fish this league because they banned it. I'm going to go fish this league because they support it. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, if there is a flat out ban, you're 100% alienating your marketplace. And you're more so, in my opinion, not to just keep throwing the term around, old guys, but you're focusing in on guys that are probably on the tail end of their career, that are going to, that may have a big following now, but 5 to 10 years from now are going to retire and be gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think there's a perfect answer to any of this. I think if the viewers, if the viewers truly want to see a limitation, like what you mentioned earlier, you want to set how many inches and how many transducers, I'm all for it. I still don't think it's going to change the outcome of the tournaments because the guys that are performing are going to keep performing, regardless if there's transducers or not.
They're putting in the work.
Yep.
Well, which leads to what you were talking about on the social media aspect.
Mhm.
It's not hard to see the guys out there hustling, the guys that are really putting in the work because they got the bigger social media followings and all that. What is the general consensus with those kind of guys as far as whether forward facing is good or bad? I mean, can you get a read on it from what you're seeing? You probably follow it a little more than I do.
I mean, coming from the guys that are putting out content hard, I mean, they are already a result of the grind. I mean, you look at guys like Brandon Pollock, who's had a camera on his head for 10 years and making it happen, like just constantly putting in the work. He treats it like a business. Like if you come to something and you're like, how can I make this better every single day? Instead of this is how I do it. I'm good at this. I'm going to keep doing this. I think that's the gap. So like back when Polnick wasn't winning tournaments and AOYs and things like that, like he was grinding to try to get better every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like Carl Jocumsen, who's putting out a ton of content, like he's grinding to get better. Is he putting up blue trophies every other week? No. But is he developing an audience and making an impact? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the guys that are taking the value of, it's not just about tournament fishing anymore. We all notice that. Like there's different ways to be valuable than catching bass, but you can be involved in the sport of catching bass, but you can be more valuable. So like to you high school, college anglers, guys out there that are trying to be valuable in this industry, and you want to send a DM to a company about trying to get a sponsorship, think about how are you bringing value to that company? How are you bringing value to the industry? How are you reflecting that company's brand? Does that brand identify with how you carry yourself? Because you could be with a great company and you could carry yourself poorly, and all of a sudden you make that great company look terrible to new customers.
And that's like, I think, because I get at least a couple times a week people reaching out about wanting me to sponsor them, and it is like never ever mentioned how you as an angler are going to drive sales to me.
Yes.
I don't care about where my logo is. I
Right.
don't care about how many followers you have. How is that going to turn into net sales for my business?
For sure, 100%.
So build me a business plan. Give me a sales strategy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist anywhere in this industry right now. That's the only downside to like high school and college fishing is the whole sponsorship thing has gotten so flooded now. It's, I don't know, like to your point, like providing value to sponsors, like, and that's like my sponsors. I am not a social media guru, never will be, but
you got the face for it.
we as far as like I mean I love doing through my business because I love talking what we do. But like I can the one thing I can definitely do is sell stuff, and that's the value I provide to my sponsors. And I case in point, I was sending our buddy, my boss at Yamaha, serial numbers of motors I've sold this year.
But see, that's where it's at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You give somebody some money.
Read that comment from Walton Doyle. The
ROI, return on investment, 100%.
Business 101.
Business 101. And so like, and that's the big thing, like, and we have to kind of do it. And we're kind of learning the sponsor game here as he goes. And we have to be able to say, if we shout your name out and you pay us X amount of dollars, are you going to make that much money
Case
and
in
more?
Point, your buddy who brought the nitro,
I
mentioned you. I sponsor you guys. There's a 1-to-1 interaction.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, and that's what it's all about.
Yep.
I think, and this is just my opinion, and this is not the opinion of any of the guys on here. If a league bans forward-facing sonar due to pressure and all that, whatever, that's fine. But in 5 years, when they go to these lakes and the winning weight is 11.28 pounds, and those same people that are fussing now will be the same ones fussing then, saying, oh, these guys ain't catching it, it's boring. I don't think you can satisfy everybody like that.
No.
So why would you change?
Yeah. I mean, this whole Ford Sonar conversation is almost worse than politics, honestly.
It is. It is. RH Fishing, you guys are 100% spot on. So, Ryan,
and
what you doing, baby?
To your point, like, I think if a league does it, you're going to see exactly that. A tournament's won with 4 days for 30 to 40 pounds, right?
Right.
Like, and that's just because a place like Pickwick, can't go out there and drag a jig up a ledge anymore.
Throw a weightless wacky worm like Danny likes to do.
Listen, I'm gonna take Trent.
I'll catch him.
Trent, you would win Angler of the Year every year if you would just throw a weightless wacky
Or Ned rig.
or Ned rig. 100%
I love a
of the
Ned
time.
rig, and I love
100% of the time. I don't care what anybody says.
Catches
Listen,
them.
you take that Yamamoto number 306 with 197 chart. It's called Monster Shad. And you throw that on any spotted bass lake, smallmouth lake, you're going to crush. But anyway, that's just me. But it is business. This debate of FFS will not die until the next big thing comes out. And that's true. But right now it is the elephant in the room. And we're sitting here waiting to see what they do.
Augmented reality fishing is coming.
Yeah, but it's only been the elephant in the room for the past 2 years. Everybody's been mad about it.
And and what's funny is they got mad about it because a lot of it was the Japanese anglers coming in and dominating.
They knew what the hell they were doing.
But Bassmaster Classic in 2018
I don't know if I'd make that argument.
or 19.
That they don't know what they're doing.
A big part of it was when people saw the transducers on their jack plates, they started wigging out.
People got mad when the big dollar guy in their local club showed up with it.
Yeah.
That's
a good point. That's a good. I would 100% agree with that. And then,
That's a good
but
point,
where was the uproar? What year was it? Cherry won the Classic at Gunnersville.
2020 and 2021. No, 2020 was Gunnersville.
I think it was 19.
2020.
Okay, so when Cherry won.
Someone fact check that. When Hank Cherry win Gunnersville.
Where you at, Ronnie?
Anyways, he won it using Livescope. It wasn't televised. That's how he was won. But he won it throwing a jerkbait on, lo and behold, at Gunnersville, the freaking bridge. But he was using it. He was throwing a jerkbait to isolated fish suspended off the riprap.
Right.
But there was no uproar about that. When Gusty won the Classic at
was that Hartwell?
Knoxville on the actual Tennessee River. Forward Sonar. There was no uproar about it. This year when Hamner won the Classic on Forward Sonar, there was no uproar about it. It's just isolated to certain events. Most of the time it's smallmouth events. People just get riled up about it.
Yeah. I think what Paul, and there's a couple comments, and Sal, I'll get to your question here in a second, but I do think you got a point. Because really the majority of the complaining when somebody comes into the shop is not the pros. It is the local events where the average guy.
Someone else took my money.
I can't. I hear
100%. That is what it is.
I can't compete with the guys fish throwing Livescope. Those same guys, though,
you know what?
Are throwing like, what the hell? You know, we've had a couple. You know what I'm saying? But it's the point they complain more about the guy that's taking $500 on a Saturday than they really do about a guy winning $100,000 Classic. And so I think it's kind of like, but it doesn't help when you got the Randy Blockers of the world thinking that you guys are evil for throwing it. Because I've been on boats with Livescope. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a reason you guys are pros and I'm not.
Just because you see them does not mean you can catch them.
It pisses me off more than it helps me catch fish.
Yes.
I mean, if I'm being honest.
100%.
And it probably ruins a lot of good anglers who all of a sudden their neck's hurting down. They're looking down because they think they got to have it and they forget their instincts. And I had that young kid, Reed Rook, on last week. And I actually put a TikTok out about it today. I asked him, how does it make you feel when guys say the younger generation can't fish? Brooks Anderson's another one. You know, those guys, they're like, we can catch fish. We don't need the Livescope, but right now we have it and we can use it. We've learned how to use it. But if I need to go beat the bank or throw in the grass and all that, I can do that.
Yep.
But too many people are out there saying these guys can't catch fish without the Livescope.
Help. I won a BFL in 2020, I think, or 21. I won it on a buzzbait on Hartwell with all my graphs off.
That's my point.
Had them all off.
But see, I will tell you, there's probably somebody's going to watch this eventually whenever it comes out. Or if I put a TikTok out with you saying that, and they're going to say, I call BS. That guy owns a sonar company. He can't fish without sonar. Those guys are out there, and they're often the ones that are the loudest.
Yeah,
just like
it's like
that's the most liberating bite there is, though, just to go fish and not worry about.
I don't disagree, but it's like,
but if I'm fishing for $100,000, I want every tool at my disposal.
Everyone who's negative about it, it's kind of like going on Amazon looking at reviews. You're going to hear more bad than good.
100%.
That's what the situation
They're
is.
always the asses that will leave the, and the bad thing about it is some of these guys are never, and I hate to say this, but it's true. Some of those guys are never heard anywhere else in their life unless they leave a bad review. That's kind of like their thing in life. Like
they're expressing.
That's how they express it, because in their average everyday life, nobody listens to anything they say anyway.
Yeah.
But if I leave a review, There are guys out there like that.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this. Take Trent out of it. I like Trent's not here and you're not buddies and all that.
All right.
What would you like to see done? What would be your perfect setup for pro fishing right now when it comes to sonar technology, anything like that?
I would just say, just let the pros be pros. They're the top of the sport. Why are we letting the top of the sport, that tiny percentage of anglers with forward-facing transducers on their boats? So you got 400 guys, 500 guys, whatever the actual number of real pros is, versus the majority of the world. Like, it's such a tiny percentage. Why are we letting that tiny percentage affect what we all do as average anglers, weekend anglers, things like that?
That's a good point. How many? So if you put the elites, the MLF, the highest series of MLF, and let's just say the National Professional Fishing League, how many actual pros do you estimate are on those?
That's about 300.
About 300.
Yep.
And what percentage that would be of your total bass anglers in the United States? It's got to be infinitesimally small. Did I say that right? That's a big word for me.
Nothing.
Less than a
0.01%
of a percent. Yeah.
So why are we letting it run our lives and our drama and our social media? That's the biggest thing.
Because everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what gets clicks.
Yep.
It
That's
is
what
what
gets
gets
views.
clicks. I think to Paul's point, that's the bigger problem is the local tournament scene and all that.
Mhm.
Or maybe not the problem, but I think that's where a lot of people are more butthurt about it.
Guys have trouble. You go out and you feel like you did the best you could do, and you get your brains beat in, and guys will do anything, especially in fishing where things get expensive quick,
They do.
and you feel like you have to justify your investment.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
just like with boats. How
Um,
many people complain? Well, that guy's got
and
$100,000.
that guy's, and
Small.
so at some point
And
that
I-
becomes your explanation.
I hate that because, like, I'll use this analogy because my other very passionate hobby is cars.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Big car guy.
Oh, you really?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. I
Yeah.
didn't know that about you.
And like a big thing in the car industry now is like, I'd say kind of a big thing. Like, don't hate on anyone's build. Support the culture of just modifying your car, doing what you want to do with your car. Don't hate necessarily how someone takes the approach. And to your point, I hear it all the time. Well, that person's got $100,000 boat. That kid, his daddy bought him a
I hear that a lot.
$120,000 boat. That's great. More people in the industry, more people supporting the industry. Like, I hate hearing that stuff when someone's
yeah.
like, well, he's got a brand new Phoenix and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it don't matter. You can have an old boat, new boat, whatever. They all fish the same.
I agree with
And
that.
it's something that's been said on this show many times. If you're worried about what someone else has,
You're not going to succeed.
you're not worried enough about what you can do to succeed.
That's true. That goes with everything. Like, if I worried about every person that came up with their own podcast,
If you're out there and you're hung up on what someone else is doing, where they're going, what they're fishing, what they're throwing, how their boat's set up, like, you got time for that?
you're right.
When
right.
you're supposed to be focused on, get out there and doing the thing.
That's right. Now, Tony's got a great comment up there too with Clint. Because the average angler lives vicariously through the pro. Unfortunately, that's a lot of their identities.
And I agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm one of the biggest fans of bass fishing. I feel like I watch it all the time. I think
Yes,
about
you
it all
do.
the time. And
You
like,
do.
I'm very invested in it on keeping up with the pros and then keeping up with everybody in the industry. And I enjoy it and I love it. And do I use Livescope? Yes. Like, I like it, but like, I'm more attached to the story that those pros are telling because we're living vicariously through that story. If their story is they choose to look down at their screen or they choose to catch a bass, like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm attached to that person's story. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who their sponsors are. It just depends on who that person is, who their relationships are. Like, it depends on how they carry themselves. Because at the end of the day, like, if you see a guy and you love you're running all of his sponsored stuff, you're running all that equipment, but at the end of the day, you finally meet him at an Elite Series tournament and he's mean to you or just doesn't give you the time of day,
Yeah.
Mhm.
then how much does that rod, that reel that you're using, that bait that he's been throwing his whole career, like how much value are you getting out of that relationship? Like, the industry is so relationship based that, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're using. It's a matter of who is in your network. Who do you look up to? Who do you aspire to with these anglers? Because of, like, what stories do you relate to? what guys like that have had a really hard story and was just a weekend angler working full time that made it to the elites. Like that's the guy that you want to relate to, but you're not relating to him because he's using a certain bait technology, rod, reel, insert product here. You're relating to him because of who he is.
I agree with that. Now I have to admit though, I did drink Budweiser when Dale Jr. drove the Budweiser car. That was my only reason whatsoever. It's like, this is piss beer. But Dale Jr. drives the Budweiser car.
Yeah.
I had the attachment to Dale Jr. like that. Let me ask you this. If an angler comes up to you and says, Trent, Sonar Pros, big name, top in the industry, I want you to sponsor me. What is like the biggest turnoff to a guy? Like if you see something, you're like, no, hell no. I mean, what is it as a business owner looking to an angler? What would make you say there is no way in the world I would ever? You might not be mean to the person in face to face,
like how they go about asking for it,
or
any of it. I mean, I think it.
That's right. You did go Dale.
Yeah, you did the hand gesture, but like they're already expecting a handout. That's number one. I think number two is. If you just give the typical spout off of I have this many followers, I'm going to do this many videos for you, blah, blah, blah. Again, to my comment earlier, if someone would just come to me and say, here's how much money I'm going to make you next year, like with a dollar figure, I'd be like, cool, let's go inside and talk. Like
I wish it was that easy sometimes, but yeah,
like if there was a way,
I'm learning that.
Yeah, if there was a way to perceive that conversation, like, hey, I'm going to increase your net sales by 10% because I'm going to do this. Let's go have a conversation. If you say, hey, I'm going to put your logo on this part of my jersey and this part of my wrap, and I'll give you a carpet decal, and I have 1,000 YouTube followers, I'm gonna be like, cool. What does that do for me?
Can I? I'll be honest with you. That's something we're learning here as a podcast, as learning what our value is to a prospective sponsor, and that is something that is tough to figure out. Like, but as you get more experience, that's something we're actually. And I'll be honest, we're learning that as we go here.
And as a like, I think how I want to say this, as a sponsor, essentially as a sponsor, what I think the best thing someone can do if you are a sponsored angler is you might think the company that's sponsoring you has their eyes on you and they're always watching you. A lot of times, big companies have a hard time even keeping up with their staff. There's software that exists now that helps them manage their staff.
Right.
The way you can stand out and show value is give a quarterly recap of what you did. Or give a yearly recap of what you did. Send analytics. Give numbers like, hey, I know whether they did business with you. I know I sent this person, this person, this person. Here's their phone number and their email that I sent to you to do business with you. Mm-hmm. Like, even if that person didn't book an appointment with me, for example, if you just provide me their phone number and email, well, I can add them to my mailing list. Then maybe they're a customer down the road type deal.
All right, guys. So if you ever came in the shop and I told you go to Trent because he's the best, I need your number and all that because I'm gonna stick his ass for a check.
Well, what you don't know is on the back end is I have like you guys, and then I have anglers I sponsor. I have a spreadsheet, and when the minute I'm on the phone with someone and they mention an angler or an organization I sponsor, I go to that spreadsheet and I put a tally.
Are we doing okay?
Yeah. I know how many you've sent me, but how many? Do you know how many you've sent me?
Has it been more than one?
Yes.
That's all I need to know. No, I really don't.
Yeah.
Because when somebody comes in the shop, this is how it goes. It goes, I got a Sonar, and I'm like, you need to take it Sonar Pros.
Yep.
And they'll ask why. I'm like, number one, the pros do it. I know the guy. I know where he's located. I know he'll stand behind his work. And we try to make that sale here.
Yep. 100%.
But we really do not know once they walk out the door
if it happens
if
or
it
not.
ever happens.
Yes. Like a good rule of thumb I do is like, so one of my sponsors is Palmetto Boat Center.
Yeah.
Marty and the crew up there are some of the best folks when it comes to buying a boat. When I send them a lead, I might have a customer that's in the shop that says, hey, I'm about to get rid of this boat. I want to get a new Phoenix, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'll give them the information to reach out to them, but then I'll send a follow-up text to ownership over there, Marty, and be like, hey, this guy's eventually going to call you guys. Here's his number. Just want to give you FYI.
Start doing that. That's good. Carrie Bell says, I need to see that spreadsheet. Yeah. All right. So
I have a question probably for both of y'all. When someone comes to you as a prospective kind of pro staffer, however, whatever the in term is for that now, how deep do you dig into their kind of social media profile or kind of their online presence?
And I imagine you would actually help Trent out with that a little bit too now. Like,
I mean,
Trent said, do you know this guy? And you'd be like, nah, dude,
yeah. A lot of it is if someone's proficient, I'll reach out and figure out if anyone knows them.
But I feel like I can find out in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Like from the
what would you do?
From the DM.
I'm Danny Pruitt. Hey, I want you to sponsor me. I
In
got this
person
social
or
media.
through social media? That's
Let's
two
just say
different
I
things.
sent you a message.
If
over
I'm sliding
Instagram.
in the DMs
Okay.
I'm sliding
tomorrow.
into your DMs,
If you're
baby.
sliding in the DMs.
What's up, Farm?
I love that term. I'm so
Yeah.
freaking old.
Yeah. So when you're all greased up, sliding in the DMs, first of all, the first thing I look at is grammar and punctuation. And I'm a big stickler on that. If they can't present themselves well and appropriate, just enough to spell things, we have autocorrect these days. If you can't spell or capitalize the right letters or say like
they use the wrong there when they should
Clint,
use
and you
this.
give me
Yeah.
a lowercase c, I'm out. Like you gotta.
I'm out.
Whoa.
But
I get it. I
but
get it.
good point, though.
It's those little things. It's the people that put their shopping carts back. It's those little tiny things that give you the amount of respect. At the end of the day, it's about respect. If you're going to take the time out of your day to write something to try to get something from me or build a relationship from me, then you have to put some time into it. If you just voice texted it on your drive to go pick up your laundry or I don't even know where I was going with that, but if you just like don't put the time, I don't even know. I don't know. I was trying to think of something semi-appropriate to go pick up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Scopers. Go pick up your laundry from your mom's basement, I guess. But basically, at the end of the day, it's how they represent themselves, because how they represent themselves in that first message is how they're going to represent you as being a sponsor. And then also
K-A-N, sponsor your company.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
And then you go straight to the profile.
I'm not gonna lie. We had a fella come in here a couple years ago. One of us, he's a catfisher guy. One of us to sponsor him, and just all I'm gonna say is that his pitch, I was like, I'm not big. I kind of wanted to get my name out there, but I was like, there is no way in the world I would want my name attached with X.
Yeah.
And it was simply, he might have been just the nicest guy in the world, but it was just kind of like, you got to think of your return on investment. You got to think of your image, because like your image, I mean, if the guys that sponsor you, they got to have a certain image, or like, you don't want your name associated with that. And the spelling, it's funny you say that, because that's like I'm not the best in the world, but with autocorrect, you should never misspell anything.
You don't have an excuse anymore.
You don't.
It's truly just the time that you put into that message at that point.
Hey, Sal Pinto and a couple other guys, I saw you had questions up there. Type them back in again so I don't have to make Blake go back up and look for them, because I saw them up there. But we get to talking into this, and
sorry,
I remember.
Education.
I saw two of Sal's. I can answer them for him.
Okay, so you remember Sal's. What was the question?
So the first one was about, is Garmin coming out with a new Livescope transducer? I would say the assumption is yes, because any electronics company is always innovating.
Always innovating.
I don't expect it to come out until probably the tail end of next year.
Do you
from
think,
the timeline I am assuming?
Well,
not that I was told anything.
What is their kind of development cycle on stuff like that? By the time something makes,
is it like a laptop?
No, I'm kind of curious about it. Like now that we're talking,
it's about a 3-year cycle from something coming out to something new coming out. For the most part, with most brands, COVID kind of interrupted that a little bit with a few companies, but for the most part, it's a 3-year cycle for the most part.
Put your comment back on there again. I
so by the time we see it at market, we're 3 years away from kind of the next big thing.
Yeah.
Do you think, because you're much more tuned into the Sonar world than probably me and Danny definitely will ever be.
Sure ain't.
Are there still like quantum leaps to be made?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
number one, everything
what do you see on the horizon?
It already exists. So number one, anything sonar related, radar related, whatever, is technology the military's had for 20, 30 years.
That is true. Military pretty much comes up with it.
We get there's normally contracts that limits the
availability. Well, it was like GPS back in the day.
Yeah, there's normally contracts that limit when it can come out to the public, right? For the most part.
What about that comment? 3D mapping.
Yeah, so I'll say I can kind of answer that, because I know.
What's up, Farmer?
So as far as what comes next sonar wise, there's what's called Omni Sonar, which is big in the bill fishing tournament scene. For reference, that transducer assembly is about $300,000.
How much?
300,000. 150 to 300, depending on what package.
So Trent's got two.
Yeah. So it is, and don't quote me on the dimensions, but I know it's about 4 feet long and it protrudes through the hull of the boat.
Interesting.
God.
It shoots a mile and it essentially acts like underwater radar. So it'll shoot 360-degree live image, or it can focus its beam and it can lock on a fish and track it up to a mile is what it can do. It can actively start following that fish.
That's wild.
That's what I
Tony,
think.
you lost me.
What I think sonar wise is probably next as far as like the biggest development. Like there's always going to be refinement of the technologies that exist now. Like side scan gets improved every 2 years. Live sonar has gotten improved every 2 to 3 years. Mapping's gotten improved. As far as what's probably the next big thing is probably one transducer that does it all. So it'll be a single unit that you have on your troll motor. It can do forward, it can do perspective, it can do 360, it can do tracking. A Omni sonar pod is what's probably down the road. And I definitely think it was something else. Someone had a comment a second.
Probably
Yeah,
bow
3D
thrusters.
3D mapping is I think eventually we'll have a day, and I think this would be the biggest thing.
Now that would be interesting though, to integrate like
Bow
live
thrusters,
live sonar directly with your trolling motor. You want to hey, stay with this school of fish right now,
And it'll follow it.
and it'll follow them.
Yeah, that, and I think AI integration will eventually happen, but
Mhm.
I think mapping is probably the one thing that hasn't, other than like they've done a good job of going out and sending survey crews to lakes to refine their mapping.
Mhm.
But I think if there can ever, I think what probably will eventually come is like Google Street View, but in the water, where you can like
Ooh.
see
That would be
everything.
I'll tell you what I want.
That's what I think will eventually.
I
be a
want
thing.
to be able to see a fish and it say 5.2 pounds. I wanted to be able to tell me, do I need to throw
Maybe
it
sooner than you think.
Probably
I can already do that.
I know you can. Well, you're good. I suck. I need all the help. Sal wants to know, what's your dream car that you would want to build in the future?
All right. So car wise, I'm weird. I love trucks, and then I love imports. So I'm two very drastic ends of the
You like
spectrum.
the Porsches and stuff?
No, like my fun car is a 2015 Nissan GTR.
Oh, you're one of them, like, what's that shit where they go and they
Drifting?
You
No,
a
no,
drifter?
no, no, not drifting.
The Fast and the Furious.
No.
I talked to Lucas Black down there. He was in one of
Yeah,
the movies.
but
so-
no, I like, as far as my dream car, it's an R35 or not 35, R34 GTR. I will never be able to afford it my entire life, but that is a dream car of mine. They just legally have been able to import them because those cars, they did not meet U.S. crash compliance. So they have to be 25 years old before you can import them from Japan over here.
Oh, okay.
The problem is that car, when it came out, which they were made from 98 to 2002, I believe, or 2003, those cars are selling for $250,000 to $300,000.
You got it. You got it. You've got
that would
couple
be a
wins
dream
on your
car.
belt, wouldn't
Twin
you?
Saginaw.
Or
One second on by you.
or
man.
domestic car, modern day, probably Porsche Turbo S or GT3
I
RS.
would love to have a mid 80s 911
Yeah.
Porsche.
Yeah.
My ass could get in it. It might not be able to
Yeah.
get out of it, but it could.
But yeah, no,
I want a 911 with a Blaupunk.
yeah, but I love trucks, I love cars, but yeah, those nostalgia late 90s like Mark IV Supras, Mark III Supras, R32, R33, 33, R34 GTRs, those are my favorite.
If Trent could build a car for you, what would you have Trent build you out?
A truck with a transmission that works. I'm about to blow my third transmission in my truck. So.
What kind of
Because
truck?
you need to get that blue oval, baby.
And
What is he driving?
It's a Chevy Silverado. Man.
Listen, I got almost 400,000 miles on that piece of junk Silverado out there. I think you just got to get the right one.
You gotta get the right one.
But I get the blue oval. If you could build me one car,
One car.
like, and I want a panty dropper car.
Yeah. That's not a thing for the
Oh.
most part.
Well,
Women do not have much interest in vehicles,
they don't, but you just
especially
gotta find,
bass boats.
you
too.
got- you
They
gotta
do
find
not
the
care
right
about
woman.
bass boats. Yeah.
But 71 Chevelle,
Yeah.
one of them old muscle cars like
Yeah.
that, where you can just.
I can get behind that.
I mean,
I have respect for muscle cars.
muscle cars.
Yeah.
You know, late 68 to 72, right in
Yeah.
there. Something, whether it be Mustang or Camaro and all that. I call them. You know, they're PDC. That's the panty dropping club. Again, if a woman's watching, I'm sorry. That's Trent. Trent told me to say that. So that's Sonar Pros, not me. Okay, so Ken Pruitt. He is a really good looking guy that watches the show and all that. He's one of the better ones. Fish obsessed mount. One click from Ford to Scout. Now, what about that? Do you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, there's an aftermarket mount made by a company called Fish Obsessed that we pretty much do on every install. It's a great mount. does 0-degree capabilities for the transducer and can rotate from forward to perspective. I will say, David at Boat Logics and I have been working on a new variant of that style mount for the past year, and we just announced it this week. It is a super slick billet aluminum toolless adjustable mount that gives you infinite adjustability on pitch angle of the transducer. So Fish Obsessed mount's a great mount. We'll continue to sell them and install them, but we've now got 2.0 of that, which is the Boat Logics switchblade mount.
Is that good for you? Ken's right here behind us. So
yeah,
that's him in April. So actually, yeah, there's another boat that's going to be coming
Yeah.
to you right there. So I better get a bonus
Oh, look
Right
at
there.
Sal.
like that. So Clint, I can get you a good deal on a Toyota from Beaver. Go see the Beaver.
Sounds
The
good.
Beeve.
Again, that's the dirtiest thing ever said on television. Ward, I've been a little hard on the Beaver last night. No,
Well, you get off. You get off.
No,
You get off there at Cumming, exit 15. You take Marketplace Boulevard down there past the Dicks and past
That's
the BJ's.
right.
You get to Highway 20. You take a left. You go straight to the Beaver.
Is her last name Beaver? It is Beaver? Linda Beaver? Linda Beaver. I'm not going to go anywhere else on that, but Linda Beaver. Again, Fish North Georgia would love to do business with you, Mrs. Beaver. Like that. So, okay. So we talked a ton about Sonar and all
Still
that.
the same show it's always been.
Oh, I'll go down there. I'll go anywhere you guys want to go. What did we talk about?
I don't know. There was
Stormy Daniels and Trump the last time.
What was that?
Farrah Fawcett.
That slang you wanted us to say? That Sal told you?
Yum
Yum,
yum.
yum.
Yum yum. There we go.
Yum yum. Do you know what that is? Did I
Yeah,
ever
you
tell
told me at the end of the show.
Man,
you
so
can't
I-
talk about that
listen,
on here.
I
I don't know if Sal Pinto's a good influence on you, Danny.
See, what he does is Sal comes across as this fine man with upstanding morals and everything until you get him here by himself. And then he is just as much of a deviant as anybody
Yeah.
else is. I actually had a customer in here today. This is no lie. I wanted to know what that was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I
That's
told him.
hilarious.
I told him straight up. He goes, I kind of figured it was something like that. So,
We did talk about Stormy Daniels.
Stormy Daniels. Yeah, remember I said that Trump could have done better.
Yeah.
He should have done
You said that was
better.
grade C.
Yeah, what I mean, if you're going to get the right one, you got to go for the. I mean, if I'm going to
You
get
got a
caught,
sirloin, not a mignon. You know?
Yeah.
he did. He did. Like Paul, if your rest of your life is going to get shot by one woman, who would it be?
I don't know. That's a tough decision, man.
Like if you're,
I mean-
if you risk your entire political,
You're gonna risk it all.
everything. Who's worth
Oh,
it? Who's
man,
on that? Who would be on that A list?
Prime Ava Mendez would be up there.
That's
for
a
me.
good. That's a good
Like
one.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh
Eva
yeah,
Mendes,
she was a
like,
babe in that movie.
right? Prime
know.
Jessica Alba up there as well.
Scarlett O'Hara or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
I'm going Jennifer
Scarlett
Aniston.
O'Hara. You are
Jennifer
from Georgia.
Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
Really?
Jennifer Aniston. She's a little skinny for my taste, but I would be it. That's things that guys talk about in tackle shops, and people are like they won't admit to it. You know, when they get
Yeah.
home with their wives and all that. I'm like, my wife. See, Junior
Tiffany,
Alvarez,
I love you.
listen, you're lying. Carrie Bell, Alexis, Texas. That is the front end of a Volkswagen for sure. That's
Yeah.
some junk in the trunk.
Funny,
Man.
she's gonna kill me for saying this, but I'll say it. So, my fiance's name is Alexis,
Oh no.
Oh my.
And
Oh no.
and I wanted to get her a custom license plate for a car that said Texas.
Alexis, Texas. Does she know who Alexis, Texas?
Oh yeah,
is?
she's very familiar with it because yeah, it's funny.
My
Just,
wa-
Because
just
it's
like
2024 and she has
yeah,
the
a couple
internet?
buddies of mine. That's the nickname we give her. We just call her Texas sometimes.
Yeah, well, my wife gets on me all the
It's
time. I
hilarious.
get home and I can tell by the way the show went. If she's up and waiting, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble
Yeah, I'm in
for that
trouble
one like
tonight.
that always.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about actual fishing.
Smallmouth fishing, I think. I mean, I'm about to leave for Champlain at 3 a.m. tomorrow. So
Are you really?
yeah, the elites are on Champlain, and then St. Lawrence next week.
That is, like I said, I keep saying that's a.
Ooh,
But I
northern
want to do
exposure.
that. I want to do that for the show. Go up there and have an actual smallmouth.
Come
trip.
on,
But
we got a
I
plane
see
flight
you
out of Atlanta tomorrow.
They're
at 5.
addicting.
Sturgeon Bay, baby.
Yeah.
They're addicting fish.
addicting fish. If you could pick one place to fish anywhere in the United States, your
Champlain.
bucket list. Champlain.
Oh,
Really?
bucket list? No, I fish Champlain a bunch, but yeah, Champlain. would be-
Still,
Even still bucket list.
I would
Yeah.
say Lake Ontario for sure.
That's a good one.
Champlain or St. Clair. St. Clair is incredible.
all right. Take bass off of it. You going
Bass.
for another species?
I don't know any other
So
species.
you've already
GT
been
on the
where I
Great
would say.
Barrier Reef, mate.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have any aspirations.
I do tarpon.
Tarpon.
Yeah,
Poon.
yeah, just because they jump like spotted bass
You know what I'd love to do?
in smallmouth.
I honestly, well, you listen to him. I want to be stuck in a shark cage with a great white.
No. Do you ever think the great white's just in there like, oh, this person's trapped in here. Let me get him out of here. Like,
I don't know.
you think he's trying to be nice and let you out? You know?
He doesn't have any hands. He's got the best he can.
I honestly think, though, that one of the more exhilarating experiences in life would be to, in a shark cage, to have one of them great whites just come up and open their mouth and try to get in that cage.
No.
I'm good on that, man.
Well, I had this conversation with someone
I'd
the
do
other
it.
day.
Can we
This is
film
like
it?
way tangent. What's worse as far as like animal eating, killing you?
Mm-hmm.
I say we're
Shark, an alligator, or a bear?
Bear.
I would not
I
want-
the gator, maybe like.
Okay, so the gator's going to grab you and twist you.
And
The
rip parts
shark's
off?
just going to rip parts off. The bear's going to sit there and slash you
The
to
bear
death.
probably start eating you before
The
you're
bear will
gone.
have you before you know it. Like,
What kind of
heard all
bear?
those stories.
Grizzly.
Grizzly.
He'll be over pretty quick.
I don't know.
Okay, well, we had this question going to ICAST, so let me throw this at you. Would you want to? Okay,
Uh-oh.
listen, seriously. You're trapped in a room. Okay,
Bad start.
20 by 20 room, concrete floor. You and one other animal. What's the biggest animal that you think you could physically kill? That animal's trying to kill you. You're trying to kill the animal. What is the biggest animal you think with your bare hands you could kill?
Physically. Ooh.
I was gonna say like a cougar. That like because like a lion, no. Cougar, like a semi-large cat.
Mhm.
I could take that.
You think you could take a cat?
Yeah, I mean, it'd scratch you up, but you could get
No
it.
way.
You could get it in a chokehold.
I said, and I'm a wuss. I said a doe deer because number one, they can't get good
Oh,
traction.
they're mean, dude.
Yeah, but they can't get good
It
traction.
is a concrete floor. That's true. Is
Concrete
it
floor. I
polished
could
concrete
choke
or
that
rough?
joker out. What about you?
I don't know. I was between like I don't know. I was between more of like a dachshund and a chihuahua.
A
Those
dog, a
things-
small
Yeah,
dog.
something I could-
Small dog.
A small dog. So
Yeah.
we had a buddy saying ostrich,
No way.
An ostrich.
and I'm like, that
No
thing would
way.
kick the crap out
yeah,
of
it
you.
would, yeah, it would peck
That's
you.
that's
It would
like a
peck you to death.
velociraptor.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you're
it.
gonna-
Kangaroo. That'd be a fun one.
Kangaroo would
Oh,
be
that would
something.
I
be-
love
you'd be
watching those
done.
videos of the guy saving his dog, and he's just like,
Oh, and these fight like literally
Yeah.
boxing the kangaroo. That was wild.
So he said, so
Yeah.
Junior said a thing, and there are going to be. I know this is a Tuesday night show, so I know a lot of guys are going to watch this after the fact. When this video actually comes out, I'd like for you to put in the comments section what's the biggest animal you think you can kill,
Yeah.
because I realize our Thursday night crowd is our bigger crowd, so we get a lot of guys watching these Tuesday nighters. They're probably watching
"Dang,
the
that's,
Braves game.
that's a content piece for you." So you just short form that.
So
ask
here we
the
go,
ask
social
the
media
question
guy.
Event, ask the question again, and be like, "Hey guys, Danny Pruitt here
with Fish North Georgia.
with Fish North Georgia," and then you just
You're
ask the
taking notes,
question
Josh.
again.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, ask the question again. Post it as a standalone reel, and just get your comment, because the more engagement you get, that's something that everybody that scrolls past that and actually listens to it and actually watches it. Make sure you
See.
put captions up for people that are not listening to it.
Mhm.
Anybody that sees that will comment, and even if they see it for 3 seconds and they're like, "What animal would you fight?" Then boom, they're going to comment on it, boost your engagement. The first 24 hours of your post is the
You
most
got to
important.
say something ridiculous though.
Yeah.
You got to say that you think
You
you
got to
could
catch
like
their
a
attention.
yak
Yeah.
with your bare hands.
Say you'd fight a grizzly bear.
Because everyone's gonna be like,
Shit, I'd be
half your
defeated if
commenters
this-
though
yeah.
will take time to be like,
Yeah.
you couldn't defeat a grizzly
Yeah.
bear
But
one
a
on one,
cougar-
you
a
idiots.
cougar?
Yeah, I think a medium-sized cat, like, yeah,
A
a
bobcat.
lynx.
you got bobcat.
You're bigger than I am, though. That might be.
I don't know
it.
if that means anything.
I don't
but
I don't know if I
Well,
could
you're-
take a cougar one on one, man. That's
Well,
I mean,
I was
Besides
thinking like a
Stormy
mini
Daniels.
horse too.
No, like,
I think I could take a
okay,
mini
all right,
horse.
all right.
Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby fought that cougar in his car.
He did.
And that was a
Ligar.
movie.
All right, how about this?
It was
This-
real.
This
There's
is
a cougar in the
hey,
car.
listen, it's a long ass drive to Orlando, so this is another. Here's another one. Would
A
you
liger.
rather fight a horse-sized chicken or 20 chicken-sized horses?
Chicken-sized horses.
Yeah, chicken
Chicken-sized
size. I would just
horses.
kick them.
That's what I said. That's what I
A
said.
20
horse-sized chicken is just gonna.
It's like an
Technically,
ostrich.
it
isn't a big
an
enough
ostrich.
number
You
to
just-
worry
You
about.
just described an ostrich.
Yeah,
It's
that's
what
it.
a chicken-sized horse.
And then
is.
other questions I can't repeat on there, but we'll go with that. All right. So, have you been fishing lately at all?
Saginaw Bay this past
Just that
weekend.
you ain't been down here in Georgia fishing any?
No, last time I fished Lanier was like 3 months ago,
Really? So
And
you just kind
and
of
I
keep
literally live on the like, it from my house to Charleston Park is 2 minutes, and I don't get to go fish.
but you're fishing elsewhere.
Yeah.
But how about you?
I'm not.
And you're on Allatoona now.
Yeah, I'm
so
on
The Dead
old
Sea.
Allatoona. I've been out there 4 times, and I've caught like 9 pounds 2 of the days, and I've caught
That's a
0.
tuna special.
I had a
The
guy
other 2.
I had a guy come in here today, Drew Patterson, and they fished a Saturday night or something. They caught 14.68, and he thought they were going to the boat ramp thinking, we got this. This is Allatoona. He got beat by 14.96.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah. Carrie Bell, I have been in the room with a cougar a couple of times. It can be a rough experience. Now,
What's her name?
that's what
It's
I
a
was going to
different
say.
cougar,
Now,
I believe.
Carrie, let's be honest. A large dog
Hi-yo.
wolf, because if I was successful, I'd feel like a badass, Frank Arnold. And that's it. That's a good question. I think we'll do a reel like that. You got to answer when we do it though. You got to come up with but there were guys that were saying bear. And I'm like,
a bear
you
will
would get
tear
your
you
ass
up.
whipped. You would get that. So y'all got MPFL is going where next? Saginaw?
Saginaw
And how long
Bay.
is that? How long till that tournament starts?
It's the last week of this month. So
How
3
many
weeks, 2 weeks.
So how much? Let me ask you this: how much practice do you actually go to these lakes when you have a new lake?
I normally don't pre-practice unless it really, really, really makes sense to do it. A place like that where it's so vast and large, time on the water is pretty hard to compete with up there.
Mhm.
So I've been kind of watching the weather because that place you could easily go there and not be able to fish for like 3 days because of weather. And it just worked out last weekend, which is the last weekend we could be there.
How long's y'all's time off?
21 days from the first day of practice.
Why do you reckon they do that?
It just brings an element into it. I almost wish the lakes we had no pre-practice, like they was just off.
You would be
limits
okay
till
with
the
that? So
tournament.
hey, you just show up and
100%.
fish.
Yeah, but I went up there because I wanted to expand on what I've learned every year, and we learned some more, which is good.
Carrie Bell, she's a Forsyth County cop. All I'm saying. So I tell you, I got some friends in Forsyth County and the law enforcement there. We're gonna figure out who Carrie Bell's cougar is. Darian Moss, me and a buddy are planning to come down from South Carolina to Lanier for a weekend to fish. No Livescope, and Hartwell is our home lake. What's the best month to come down? April, because they're on bed.
No, just I mean,
As
you
everything's
can
going
do
on in
anything.
April.
You can do anything.
See, I would say like in the middle of the winter.
January and February.
I would say
Yeah.
January, February, because you can hit the rock crawler shallow. You can get the shallow
You
crankbait.
can go drag it.
You
can
can
go
drag a
jig.
shaky head
You can
or
go
jig.
drag a jig in the middle of a ditch with no sonar and catch.
September,
the crap
October
out
is
of 'em.
not bad.
No,
If you
once
can-
the turnover is done.
Yeah, if you can deal with the turnover blues, you throw your big top waters, and you can get some giants
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
Well, you like to fish. Now we're going to bring up cast. So you use a lot of cast products. So like these kind of echoes and stuff, and the swimmers right there, the prodigies. Let's say these are the only 2 baits you get to fish with. What's the best time of the year on Lanier to fish with those?
So that's the awesome thing is you can throw a jig head minnow or a swim bait all year round.
All year long, in the ditch in the wintertime, kind of
Yeah,
do that.
and it's just difference of presentation and your weight. So like if in the wintertime, I'll drag a 3-inch prodigy on like a 1/4 ounce ball head, and then just drag it real slow. But like this time of year, I'll put it on a 1/2 ounce for those fish that are suspended down low, and then I'll still fish them that way. Same thing with the straight-tailed echo.
So since you guys know what you're talking about, I do have a question. This is for me. Underspin versus ball head jig. Wintertime ditch fishing. Now it's a winter, but like in the winter, people are taking those underspins and dragging them. And to me, in my mind, I still can't figure out, in my mind, I can't picture the difference in just doing a regular ball head jig. What does that little blade do if you're actually dragging it on the
I
ground?
feel like it's a matter of a reaction bite and then also the size of bait. Like a lot of fish are trying to eat the blade because it's smaller than the actual
So you
bait,
think the blade does come into effect?
in my opinion.
In your opinion, what about yours?
I used to love throwing a fish head or underspin.
Yeah.
Forever, and
I don't throw
I
much
just can't
anymore.
catch them on it like I used to. I think it's just gotten it's one of those situations where I think it's a bait that's going to go through a cycle, and it's just not as productive
They've
as it
seen
used.
enough of it.
It's not as productive as it used to be. I think the biggest problem with right now is Lanier is pressured. Blueback herring population isn't as healthy as it used to be. They're starting to get more on the spot tails. So a lot of times on that fish head, they're going to come up and hit that blade than they are the main body. So I want a bait that forces them to eat where my hook is for the most part.
Okay, so you're the first person that's ever been on the show that said something like the blueback herring population is not healthy.
No.
Okay.
It's because of all them rat spots, I bet you.
It's because all the white bass and stripers they put in the lake over the past few years.
And so, expound a little bit more on that because I haven't heard anybody say that.
I mean, compared, and again, I don't have any data. Like,
right.
I'm not
in your
shocking at the lake.
opinion, yeah, right.
But I moved here in 2015.
right.
From what the lake used to be as far as techniques and herring spawn, the amount of herring you saw during the herring spawn, the amount of schooling fish you saw in herring in the summertime, that has drastically dwindled. And correlated in that is the DNR I can't remember what year it was, they did a massive in stock of white bass and striper. And then there was, I don't know, it was during COVID, there was a very long period of time in the summer where it was predominant topwater fishing. You were catching white bass and stripers.
Really?
And I think a lot of that has to do is that species of fish has overfed on blueback, because blueback are considered an invasive species.
Correct.
So a big reason they put those fishes in the lake is to attack the
Control.
blueback and control them.
Really?
Well, too, like you had
Nobody's talked about that.
well, too, like in 15, you had the gill maggots come in, and you lost a lot of stripers. 15 and 16,
Ton.
So your striper population has been down, and now it's kind of rebounding in a big bad way. They've really reestablished those fish.
Have you seen that, Clint?
I mean, I feel like a big thing too is like the amount of tournament pressure, access to information, all this stuff is changing the fisheries every single day.
Yep.
And then also the fish that die at the end of the day, every day, has changed completely from now to 10 years ago. The fish that used to die was everybody was knocking the sides off of them, and they would keep whatever they catch. But now, like, you have a lot of bigger fish, tournament mortality, like those bigger fish are dying off, and you got these 12 to 16-inch spots that are hanging around eating all the forage as well.
You got to wait.
Part of my theory is too.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if you guys remember this exactly. I know you don't because you weren't living here. But right before COVID, we had that weird, I don't remember the exact situation, but at some point in time, the lake was low during the springtime, and all this dog fennel grew up on the bank on Lanier. This was like, I'm pretty sure it was like 17 or 18.
like
15,
18,
16.
Yeah, and it
like
was
that.
everywhere.
Yeah, we had
like
low water for
you could go,
quite a while.
They had that FLW tournament where
Is that the one Jason Johnson fished where he was like,
yeah,
fourth
I
or
can't remember
whatever?
who won. What's his name that won?
The guy from
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma guy.
Bradley Hallman?
Hallman won
won
fish
it.
seawalls. A ton of people top 10 that tournament throwing a spinnerbait on the dog fennel. I think the population of bass we have now that has made Lanier so special now spawned that year, and we're overly protected because of the dog fennel. That's what I think happened, because a lot of those shoals and stuff had dog fennel, and current spawning
It's just open.
it's open, and they can get it ambushed by brim and all that stuff. So I think those fish had
herring are efficient nest raiders just in their own right.
I think the spotted population that year had a really good spawn, which are the fish we're fishing for
Those
now.
are the 5
And
and
I don't
6
think
pounders.
those fish are overly big herring eaters, which is why you're seeing all these small baits come into play, because I think they were already feeding on spot tails and small brim around that grass.
So I had a guy come
That's
in.
my theory.
No,
on
no,
that.
Plus
I mean,
the
it's just
threads,
good.
like you see every fall, like the threads come into play in
Yep.
a huge way. And some of those fish, like it would make sense that they stick with the threads year round.
Yep.
Like a thread fin has to be easier to catch and eat than a herring.
But I think the
Like-
reason why we're seeing Lanier fish so good is because of that spawn cycle when the dog fennel was up. That's my
it's
honest
as
opinion.
good.
I
It's
like it.
It's
Yeah,
as
that's
good of a
totally-
theory.
Never
And the
ever
largemouth
thought about
population's gotten better since then.
Now I've heard people talk about the largemouth.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the
Oh,
TAA tournament this year.
Yeah.
You saw more largemouth than we've ever seen on Lanier. I feel
And
like.
really didn't expect that as much.
No.
When we were covering, I really
the
didn't
comeback
expect to see.
continues.
You did?
Yeah.
You knew the largemouth? Well, we had been out on the lake before that and had not seen a lot of spawners. I really didn't realize that they were just going to move up.
That little
quick.
ride around period, I went around and I said, yeah, I'm not doing well in this tournament. When I saw the fish on the bed everywhere,
Yeah,
they were everywhere.
really.
Yeah, like everywhere.
Now, let me ask you this. I heard that from several guys that spawn that year. You know, normally guys talk about from the north down to the south. I heard that year or last year, whatever,
Centralized, yeah.
started around Browns Bridge and went both ways. It went north and went south. Like Browns Bridge was like the epicenter of the spawn. I don't know that to be true.
I'll say for years fishing Lanier, some of the biggest spawn fish I found were like early March on the south end. I think the biggest largemouth live down there. They're just nomadic out in timber, and then they just come up for a minute. And I think they cold water spawn. I don't think they wait for upper 60s. I think they come at like 58, 59.
Really?
Yeah.
The big ones.
That makes sense.
Well,
because
that's almost conventional wisdom though, that your biggest fish come up first.
Yeah.
that's true.
They come up and they do it and they.
But the
they get out of
conventional
it.
wisdom on Lanier is it starts up around Laurel, upper Chesterton, works its way south. If you hear just the average
The
guy
main
come here
spawn, I
talking.
think, does that.
That's something
But
that
that's a
I've
good
always
point.
said on Lanier when people talk about the largemouth. Oh, they're scarce. Oh, we don't have the largemouth population.
They're nomadic.
As well, they're nomadic, but like you look at a largemouth's habitat versus a spot. Like Lanier is a spotted bass fishery. The profusion of information that we have is to target spotted bass. Like there's not a lot of overlap, I think, between the two, or there's not as much overlap between the two. If you're targeting spots for the vast majority of the year, you're targeting spots.
Yeah.
Like,
But I've heard
of
more.
course, you'll get a lip here and there, but like you got to fish for them.
But what he's saying is over the last 2 years, I've heard of more offshore largemouth being caught down south than has been in the previous
100%.
years.
Yeah.
I know
out there.
Ryan had a bag where he was throwing topwater over a brush and had it was one day's pre-fish and he had like 18 pounds of just largemouth where they shouldn't have normally been.
Yeah. I mean, our MPFL tournament last October, I caught a 6.5 the first day off a brush on topwater. Largemouth.
Now, but here's the thing is
That's such a cool catch, dude.
that is awesome. But
Do
here,
what?
I watched that live.
Yeah. When I was
I remember
screaming
that.
the
No,
F-bomb.
yeah, yes, I remember that. I
an
remember. I
uncut
wasn't gonna
clip
bring
these
it
days,
up.
but-
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but I remember that. But to hear somebody talk, it gets told that those fish are herring eaters.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like Murray.
Uh-huh.
And I drove by Murray yesterday, and I was like, I haven't never been on Murray, but I still just watching that
It's
tournament.
a fun lake at the right time. This time of year, it's not fun, actually.
Yeah.
It's actually this till like October is like quite terrible on Murray.
But in the spring,
It's incredible.
and yeah.
If you time it right, it is the most ridiculous fishery.
I mean,
you'll
just
go
watching
to.
Patrick fish that, I
Yeah.
was just like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But the largemouth bass on that lake have become pelagic or whatever.
They have teeth. They
What
legitimately
now?
have teeth.
Seriously,
Yeah, they've adapted so that they can grab herring and keep them.
I didn't know that.
It's like you look at big spotted
didn't
bass
know
on
that.
Lanier, they have more aggressive teeth.
We
Seriously,
got-
compared
I
to
don't
other
catch
spots.
the big one, so I got to pay attention to that.
They do.
I agree with you, Danny.
Huh? You
I
don't pay
agree with
attention
you,
to that?
yeah.
Hell, I don't catch them like that. So, guys, if you got any other questions, we're about an hour and a half in, it being on Tuesday night. So I want to get these guys home. But if you got any questions, Sonar related or social media related, definitely get them in. I want to real quick, because I don't want to go any further without saying this. Congratulations to Paul on being a father now. He hasn't been here in a while. And the reason being is because he is now a dad. So
It's such a trip.
it's such a trip. So
It's such a trip.
it's good to see you face to face, but to say congratulations to you on that.
He's gonna be 8 months old here next week.
Yeah.
The week after,
And already taller than
I mean,
Paul.
people say that like it goes quick. It is like
Fast. Yeah.
unbelievable.
Dude, my youngest is getting
Unbelievable.
married next month. So yeah, trust me,
That's-
it's like stupid fast.
Yeah, and two, like with an infant, like I had no concept of how like quickly they develop.
Yeah. Do you
Like-
change diapers, Paul?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Oh yeah. So you've experienced some of that good stuff.
Yeah, but I think the crazy thing for me is like when you leave the house and he can't do something, and you come back and he can.
Like walking, yeah. So
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Like it was like 3 weeks ago, where we're sitting there, we're in the playroom. He's on his little play mat, and he sits up straight for the first time. He's crawling around, or he's on all fours, and all of a sudden he sits up. And I talked to Tiffany. I said, "Hey, you seen him sit up before?" She goes, "Yeah, yesterday for like 2 seconds."
Yeah. So finally, you
Like-
get yeah.
And literally, like by the end of that next week, no problem.
Oh, for
It's just
sure.
what he does.
Yeah.
Like,
That's it, man.
it's so crazy to watch.
Yeah.
Like and the personality come out and just the different.
Is he sleeping all night?
Oh yeah.
Well, good. I'm happy
He's-
for you.
he's a champ at
That's
that.
so. Congrats, Paul. So all them guys.
Thank you.
It's funny now. You got any kids?
I do not.
None that you want to
Like-
claim?
Yeah,
No, that you know of?
Not quite. Not quite.
Are you married?
I am not.
You're not married? Any plans?
Oh, we're working on it. yeah.
So we're working on it, and you're getting married when?
November 2nd.
November 2nd.
Sneaking up.
Is
Where are you-
that corresponding with the grand opening of the new?
Oh, I don't know. I
You
didn't
know,
even
have
think
you
about
got a
that.
preacher?
Actually, my
Because you know I can do that.
my buddy Justin Kimmel's marrying us.
Justin is.
Yeah.
I got to get Justin back on it, but you know I can.
Yeah.
I can do that. I got the internet ordination.
Ordained. Yeah, that's what
Yes,
Kimmel's
I've
got.
done 3 weddings.
Yeah.
And in fact, for a a nominal fee if you want to get married here at the shop at Fish, North Georgia. We will marry you right here on the spot. You just bring your license and all that. I'll sign the papers
Do we
and
get a hat?
I'll give you a hat. If I marry you in the shop, you and the bride to be will get a free
How
hat.
about
That's nice.
Rod?
Say 10% off for life.
10% off for life.
life.
You know that. No, I messed up and told some buddies that, hey, if you finally put a ring on it, I'll get ordained and marry you. And I didn't think that about it. And then they come in about a year later. Hey, can you marry us? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man. So going forward, I want to make sure before we get out, hit your plans with Sonar Pros. You guys have moved now into a new location. You're no longer in
Yep.
Dawsonville. You're
We're
in
in
Cumming.
Cumming now. Yep.
Where exactly are you located in Cumming?
Off Browns Bridge, pretty much across the street from Charleston Park in a commercial complex back over there.
Like that. And so you are operating out of there as of now.
Yeah, appointment only as of now. The plan is we are working to get our retail front set up, which will be, full blown, every piece of electronic equipment you would need for a boat, units on display, mounts on display, every parts and odd end you would need for your boat, batteries, everything will be there. The plan right now is, let's just call it sometime in Q4 that will be open. And we'll, once we kind of get a little bit better headway on it, I'll probably start doing some announcements of when it'll be opened. We'll probably do a grand opening get a bunch of pros, get some of our pros in that we sponsor, and food trucks and all that fun stuff.
So
A party.
A party. That's awesome. Now you with Yamaha, because it's a new venture and all that. What are you going to be doing here in the near future? I know you're doing the social media and everything.
Yeah.
So what's your plans going forward with Yamaha? Because that's a big thing, dude.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is just telling that story. Being able to talk about Yamaha and really incorporate some more lifestyle content, some more of our anglers, more of just the environment around running a motor, whether you're going out with your family or you're wakeboarding, you're doing whatever it takes to be
more
on
of
the
that
water.
gray cowl 4-stroke being bulletproof.
Yeah, exactly. Just basically incorporating that style of content, and then just growing our audience to realize like our product has always like sold itself, but like we kind of want to just show the people involved in that product to just do that like people-driven marketing, kind of like I was talking about.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm happy for both of you guys. It's good to see people succeed. Let's see, Trent, what's your opinion of the beat down mounts, and will you be a distributor of them or an installer of them?
I knew that was coming.
Sal put it out there. I didn't know if it's something we're supposed to be.
They make a great mount, machining wise. It is a great mount.
I did not know that was coming.
In a tournament bass application, big water application, any sort of overly elevated mount is not a good idea.
Okay.
The front of our decks of boats are not designed to have a 6-inch pedestal that's then elevated 8 to 10 inches up, holding
It's a lot of leverage.
18 pounds of graphs. That is just, don't care how strong that body of the bait is, body of the base is, the structural aspect of that fiberglass can only handle so much. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I got one, I had no problems. I have seen, not specifically just them, but other brand of elevated mounts. I have seen physical decks under the carpet crack because of those type of mounts. So if you're tournament fishing, you're fishing big water, you're running around, probably stick with like a Boat Logix mount, like a dual panel mount, or a Boat Logix dual adjustable deck mount. Those are not overly elevated. They are machined to be properly installed and fitted to the boat. But yeah, they make Beatdown makes a great mount. If you're a tournament bass fisherman, I do not recommend them on your boat. That's nothing against them as a company. They just need to prove a different mounting base, in my opinion, or a way to structurally reinforce the front of that aspect. But if you're, doing like Kerry Bell's got one on his boat that we put on.
Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it's cool because it can elevate up and down. Well, Kerry's not going out in 3-4 footers on Lake Huron.
No, he's an electric rig,
Yeah,
although a very impressive electric rig.
It is. So it just depends on the application, where you're fishing, how you're fishing. If you fish on a small body of water down in South Florida that never gets rough, that's a great mount to put on there. But if you're on linear in the washing machine effect, or you're going out in big water, anything that is elevated or has a small pedestal base with a lot of weight on top, I do not recommend it.
Okay, well, there you go. That's a good, solid answer. So, all right, guys, we're an hour and 40 in, so I know these guys got stuff to do. So, first of all, Trent, appreciate being a partner with you and all that, and enjoy watching you fish. And I know that Sonar Pros, again, if you want it done right, and I mean it, if you want it done right, You take it where the pros take their boats. You go to Sonar Pros, and you can get in touch with, what was it, 7? What was your number again? Because normally I read it when they pull it up.
770-530-4505.
5-appointment only right now, but
Yep.
got big
Can also go
things
to our
coming.
website. We got a contact us form on there too.
Perfect like
And
that.
go follow them on social media.
Yes, go
Go
follow.
check
Yeah.
out some of that content.
Clint and I did a lot of hard work to get
Yeah.
that
Clint,
rolling.
Clint's doing that, but I'm proud of you, dude, with Yamaha.
Thank you.
That's big. That's big, and I know you've worked your ass off to get there.
Yeah.
And you really got your fingers in the fishing industry. So you guys, what's your socials?
It's at C_Bartlett_Bo. The Bo used to stand for all my buddies would be like, hey, Bo, come help me with this. And then I started my company, Bartlett Outdoors. So it kind of like was a shoe in. So
Yeah.
that works. C Bartlett Bo or Clint Bartlett on Facebook.
And they always, both of them, you post great pictures, especially, fish that you catch and everything like that. So it's always enjoyable. I enjoy getting to know you guys like that.
For
so
sure.
On this, and Paul, I'm glad that you finally got back up here, was able
It's
to come
good to be
see us.
back.
It's been a
It's
while.
good to be back.
And congratulations on the kid right
So,
there. So
Hey,
you know what causes it now. So you got to make sure in the future. So you guys,
so
listen.
we'll see about trying to be back up here on the reg.
You should try that, but I get it. Fatherhood's more important. That kid's more important than anything we do right here. And all you guys in the comment section that watch this either tonight or at a later date, listen, the show's nothing without you guys and the guests that we get. So we appreciate you spending some time with us. And again, like I said, if you're watching a later date, man, we love you guys too. So appreciate you joining us. Now, Thursday, I got another great show coming up. We got Matt O'Connell, to me, one of the more versatile fishermen in North Georgia. And he is the Central Division Toyota Series Angler of the Year. And he's been runner-up in the BFL All-American the last 2 years. He's been right there. And so this guy's got a great future and all that. So we're going to have him on Thursday night. You guys have a great week. And we appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you check out Sonar Pros, get it done right. Follow Clint on social media, and everybody go to Paul's page and say, congratulations, Paul, on the baby. The wife did all the work. You can definitely tell the looks to her. The height is to Paul. You got the height from Paul. So you guys, we appreciate it. We'll see you on the next one.